Well, who's on first?
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Who? The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Who is on First. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Really appreciate you. I am Tim Ellebrook. That is Brian Kaplinger and Michael Ramsey, as always. We're here to talk about baseball. Before we get started, just make sure to give us a like, follow, subscribe, and appreciate it. Before we get started, how you guys doing? You guys doing good?
Yeah, I guess I'm doing okay. I'm a little under the weather, kind of playing same way the Cubs did this week, just a little under the weather, so doing okay.
Yeah. That's fair, that's fair.
Yeah, for me, all is good, you know. Good weekend. Started the weekend off right with a good Cardinals game. You always got to get out and take in a game a few times a year, so had a blast. Energy is back up in Busch Stadium, which is so fun to have, and maybe we can talk about that later, but, you know.
I'm sure we will. Tell me about, well, I'll just start off right now. Tell me about your experience being back at the ballpark.
Well, the question is,
I think it was your first game this year, right?
Yeah. Are you going to go tarps off right from the beginning here?
I thought about having a funny segment where we do snaps and we have our shirts off and then we do snaps again and put it back on. But I felt too lazy to try and coordinate all of it. But I thought it would have been pretty funny.
Really, I'm just saving all the viewers from a poor experience. Like when you're at the ball game, you can hide in the midst of all of them. It's not as bad. On camera here, we'd be struggling.
There were a lot of man children up there with shirts off. Although there was one, I don't know if you guys saw it. There were quite a few wearing like Navy caps, military. And one of them had a bullet hole in his stomach, like he got shot, and you could see it. And I was like, dude,
that's balling.
You deserve to have your you deserve to do whatever you want, sir.
Absolutely.
Sheesh.
No, but yeah, I mean, like, you know, there's just nothing like. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I've had the opportunity to be in Busch during a playoff run. Obviously, you know, it's just electric, and there was something about like even Friday night. That feel was kind of back. We haven't had that in a number of years. I think even when the team was in the playoff fight, it just wasn't there. And I think it's just something because, again, the young guys are exciting to watch. They're fun to watch. And then you pair that with the fact that they just keep winning. They find ways to win games. It hasn't always been pretty, but, I mean, they're doing what they need to do. And so you get a crowd going like that, and I have to say right off the rip, like, kudos to Ollie for jumping in too, like, and saying, hey, we need this, get these kids out there. I mean, I'm sure by now if you're a Cardinals fan, even if you're just an MLB fan, you've seen it all over the MLB news, him just bringing them into the clubhouse, the players staying around and signing stuff for them, all of that, and then him talking to them. Like, I mean, that's what it's about. That's how you win your city. As a baseball team, and I mean the Cardinals have been great at that for a while, and I, you know, just say kudos to them for somehow figuring it out on like this rivalry weekend set that they were able to accomplish something like this, because I think it's only going to fuel things going on, especially as we have, you know, what in my opinion, not that the Royals aren't typically a good team and it's fun to watch them play, but we got probably the biggest rivalry coming up at the end of the month.
Yeah, I can think of like 2 or 3 certain series that always bring fans. The Yankees coming to town will always bring people to the seats. At the moment, the Dodgers being in town will probably always, just because Shohei Ohtani brings people with him. And then I think the Cubs, when the Cubs are in St. Louis, and the same vice versa when the Cardinals are in Chicago. But I think those are probably the 3 most attended. But the fact that you saw that many people and that excitement versus the Royals, who are honestly really bad right now, have that much energy, was definitely really, really cool. So, and kudos to that St. Francis or St. Austin? St. F. Austin?
Stephen F. Austin, yep.
Stephen F. Austin. Shout out to those guys for, you know, starting all that. And then shout out to Pozo for following through and doing what he's supposed to do.
That's right, King Pozo, baby.
Our thick King Pozo. All right, let's jump into just some. We're just going to talk news and storylines for the past week. Let's start with this. Obviously was the rivalry weekend, which means for the most part it's an NL-AL rivalry or some sort of state inside of the state rivalry. We'll save the Cardinals and Cubs for the end storylines, but I wanted to start off with the poop series, which is Philadelphia versus Pittsburgh. It always garners fun stuff because of the score bug and how it always has to lay out no matter what. But I thought the one thing to start off with that is Kyle Schwarber has hit his 20th home run during that series so far. Can't stop doing it. Currently, the pace is obviously changing every day that he doesn't hit one or does hit one. But on average, I believe he's on pace for 500 or it's like 520 or something like that. Not really. He's on pace currently for 72 home runs, which is a lot. The last time that's ever happened was obviously two specific years, Mark McGwire in 98, Barry Bonds in 2001. And I'm talking about the pace, not just the number, because I believe Bonds hit 73, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. So, my main question, do you guys think that will happen? You think he can do it? Can he keep that pace up? Because that's pretty ridiculous.
I mean,
Man,
I would say
go for it, Michael.
Yeah, I'm unlikely, but if there was going to be a random guy to do it, it'd be Kyle Schwarber. I would say the guy's got unlimited power, and when he gets on these hot stretches, I mean, you can watch this guy put up 10 in a week. It's kind of crazy, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, if there's somebody that's going to do it, in my opinion, that's in the game of baseball right now, it's probably him. Just because of the amount of home runs that he does hit. I mean, obviously we saw what Judge was able to do last year, not on that same pace. I mean, I'm not saying he's a slouch. I mean, he's only got 16 back there. You know, he's falling behind. But I know. Who would have thought?
That bum.
But, I mean, yeah, when you look at what Schwarber can do, and I think it's even more than that. I mean, the reason the Phillies are even back in the mix is because of what he's been able to do. I mean, the Phillies now, obviously, some people have gotten healthy. They started to see some of their pitching come back, which is nice to see. All of those things are starting to add up. Who knew that Mattingly was going to be able to really turn this boat around, if you will? But here we are, and for whatever reason, I mean, Schwarber's always been the big-time clutch. I mean, obviously, if you've followed him in any way, he always finds a way to do it. And so, like, if he gets wind of the fact that somebody said he can't hit 72, there's a good chance this year he's probably going to hit 72.
Yeah. So I just looked this up. Mark McGwire in 1998 had a 10% home run chance. So every at bat or every plate appearance has a 10% chance to hit a home run, which is absolutely absurd numbers. Currently, in Schwarber's season this year, he has a 9.6% chance. The previous year was 7.7. So, like, that jump is significant. I would agree with you guys. Obviously, he's the only one in baseball that could probably do that. I mean, minus the guy that did 62, 3 years ago. But the pace is not there. I mean, a month ago we thought Walker was going to hit like 81. So anything can happen in a given week or month in baseball. I'm going to go on a limb and says he gets to 70. That's pretty absurd. Like, that's an absurd number because Judge hit 62 in like the final game of the season.
Yeah.
And Schwarber is such a streaky hitter already. Like, Judge had a high average that year. Like, he was a 300-plus hitter, and Schwarber's like he's at 240 now, I think.
All right.
Let me confirm that.
So here's the big question.
He's
while
at
you're
237.
Okay, while you're confirming that 237, is there a world, if he continues to hit at this pace, that the Phillies run the Braves down and make the division a fight?
Michael, I'll let you go first.
I can tell you this much: the Braves look really great right now. As someone who just got done playing a series versus them, and it's not always like Acuna and the boys that are beating you. Mike Yastrzemski randomly just turned into a god against us. So I will say yes, the Phillies can do it. Obviously, Schwarber at some point will cool down a little bit, at least from where he's at right now. The big thing is going to be their pitching, I think, whether their pitching will hold up. But Sanchez is starting to kind of find his own again. Wheeler's back, and he's kind of doing his thing. So can the Nolas of the world and, what Painter and some of those other guys, can they keep up that pace? I would say that'll be the piece that'll hold him back more than anything. But on the converse, the Braves are also winning a lot of games, and their pitching is pitching at a level that's not sustainable, I would say, for the staff that they have. So they're going to hit a streak at some point where they start to skid a little bit. It's just about when more than if. And so kind of depends. If Philly can keep up the pace they're at right now for a little while longer, and then maybe the Braves hit that, then yeah, definitely. They're fortunate that they went into a really rough stretch early in the year. And so, yes, they were back a lot of games, but it's easier to make up that ground in May than it is to make up that ground in August and September.
Yeah. You can't make the playoffs in April, but you can lose it.
100%.
I actually would agree with Michael. The pitching is good. Canola. I would say the bigger question of the rotation is Luzardo. They just signed him, gave him a lot of money from the year he had last year, which is really good, and he's off to a pretty atrocious start this year.
Yep.
Nola is having a pretty continual atrocious start, and that fall off is crazy because we're now talking about Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez as like the best 1-2 punch in baseball, but there was a couple years ago where it was like Wheeler and Nola being the best 1-2 rotation in baseball. I'm pretty skeptical of the Phillies' offense. And I say that as we're talking about one of their players getting to the 72 home run mark. Just because outside of Schwarber and Harper, there's so many question marks. Honestly, I would consider Trey Turner kind of a question mark. Last year he won the batting title, but the year before that, he went for like 2 or 3 weeks without a hit, and the fans had to rally together and try and give him standing ovations just to get him hitting. So he's still he's been too up and down since he's been over there to say this is what he's going to be. And then, man, they have so many players. They have 3 or 4 in the lineup that are just who are these guys, and can they hit? What's the guy that came from Texas? I'm blanking on his name.
Adolis.
Megamind. Yeah, Adolis, I would say, has also been what I expected.
Yeah.
Not great.
Right.
Not bad.
Right.
Not great. So I would say there's too many questions to offense. When you look at the Braves offense, you don't have any questions. They're going to be really good.
Yep.
To Michael's point, the Braves pitching is very overperforming right now. But there's also always some sort of team or a couple teams that are just constantly overperforming, and it just works for a year. And that kind of makes me think that's what the Braves are. The amount of pitching injuries that they have doesn't make any sense, but it's just it's the 2026 Braves, we don't have any answers for why that works. That would be my answer. Is I do think they've gotten too far ahead to be able to just play 500 ball the rest of the year and still stay ahead, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's all valid points. I mean, when you're talking about here mid-May, almost the end of May, and you've got an 8-9 game-ish cushion on your division, I mean, you are doing something. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Atlanta. I think it's special what they're doing in the fact that they don't have a lot of starting pitching, yet they still have a lot of starting pitching. Right. I'm not sure how they're figuring that out, but, they are. This Phillies team is so fascinating to me in the sense of the fact that this is really it.
Yeah.
they have got to put something together and find themselves in the playoffs, which I think obviously now, given the fact that they're a game above 500 and they're probably starting to creep their way into like a wild card mix conversation again,
Yep.
I think they have enough horses in the stables to get into the playoffs, and that makes them a dangerous team. Now, I know my question was, will they run the Braves down and make it a series? I think for that to happen, Michael, I think you hit it on the head. I think Atlanta's pitching has to not only regress, but like fall off with the injuries. Because that offense, Tim, to your point, is legit, and they're going to score runs regardless.
Yep.
So the pitching's going to have to be like almost Houston level bad for them to really start to, lose a grip on the lead in the division. Now, do I think the Phillies close the gap? Yeah. I could see a point in which towards the end of the season, maybe you're a bad week away from the Phillies really getting back into the mix of the division, but I don't know that Atlanta will ever put together like a run of, like 10 to 12 bad games.
Yep.
Where Philly is also running off, maybe 8 wins in 12 games, and Atlanta is losing 8 games, 8 of those 12. I just don't see that happening. But, I mean, when you start to look up and down, you're right. I mean, outside of Harper and then, Schwarber doing their thing, the only other player that's probably been really, really consistent for them, and it's crazy that you're going to say, is Brandon Marsh. Like, that's the guy that's kind of holding it together. Trey Turner has fallen apart ever since he left the World Baseball Classic. And I'm not real sure what's going to happen there. Philly is probably at this point going, why did we not trade Alec Bohm?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Because that was something they were really looking towards. Now,
not many people can be worse than Victor Scott, but he's probably one of them.
What's really interesting to me is I want to see, because they don't have a lot of wiggle room, but I want to see what moves they try and pull off.
Yeah.
Like in the deadline, or just
as we get closer to the deadline, because they're going to have, I mean, they're at a point, like I said, they have to go for it, right? Like they don't have a choice. No matter how bad they are, they can't sell off because they're going to have to eat a ton of the contracts in order to sell off, and they've already bought in the sense of, hey, we're in to win it. So now it's just one of those things, you have to go for it, or you're just going to have to take 3 or 4 years to get back to that place.
Well, I think Bryce Harper, he signed a 12-year deal, and what's he got, like 5 years left, 4 years left? Or is it more than that?
Might have been a 13-year deal.
Was it 13? Then Schwarber just signed a 5. They just gave 5 or 6 to Luzardo.
Right. Turner, they signed for 1 million years.
Yeah, they did. See, Bryce Harper has got, including this year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 6 more years, so he's 1 year past Schwarber, and he's got a no trade for the rest of that. He'll be 38. Yeah, no one's taking a 38-year-old or a 37-year-old.
No, he's going to be DHing soon.
Yeah, you make a great point. Their pitching has extended them for a few years, I would say.
Yep.
But just because you've got insanely good pitching doesn't mean your offense is going to be good enough to do it. Dombrowski's an interesting guy. Like, he spent a ton of money on this team, and it's just not ever since 23 when they got bounced in the CS. They've gone down every year. They got bounced in the DS, then the wild card, then the DS again. They've not surrounded those 1 through 3 guys enough. They spent a lot of top-heavy money and not correct bottom-heavy money. And I feel like if you compare them to the Dodgers, that's the difference. Like, they've got the 1 through 4 superstars, but they have spent well around them.
Yep.
And it's really, really hard to beat that unless you're just really, really savvy. It's hard for me to see this team beating the Dodgers. I have yet to see an NL team that I would put on paper saying that they would give the Dodgers a run for money, except for the 2026 Braves. Like, of all the players, of all the teams, like the 26 Braves would be my other. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. The Braves look great right now. Like I said, the pitching, the hitting, everything's all there. Drake Baldwin has solidified himself as one of the top, if not the top catcher in the league right now. So overall, yeah, I would say the Braves are right there. And Philly, they're just a weird one. I mean, they've gone 14-4 since they brought in Mattingly, and they're still 8 games back. So before we can even talk about them in the playoffs, like they still got a mountain to climb even to just get into the wild card realistically. So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with you though on that statement that the Braves look like probably the most likely team to beat the Dodgers, but we're also saying that probably means that Blake Snell, Glasnow, and them, like, they're coming back late in the year like they did last year again, and just kind of running it. And now I will say, like, maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't, but like the run that Yamamoto went on last year, that was unprecedented in the playoffs. And like, if he does that again this year, boys, we might be watching the Dodgers win the World Series for the next 5 or 6 years. But
Right?
like that dude was nails. But right now, like you said, like, I assume the Braves are going to have some sort of a fall off of some sort pitching wise, but I watched them one hit the Cubs last week, and the Cubs have been one of the hottest hitting teams in baseball. So, and it wasn't Chris Sale on the mound; it was some random Joe Smo. So,
The guy that got off waivers that nobody heard of.
literally, it's just like,
That's
it's
where,
a nice
speaking
flow
of, that's
though.
where Alex Manoah should go. Like, that's probably where he would pitch well. Is in
100%
Atlanta.
agree. 100% agree. So
So let's talk about that real quick. If we're expecting the Dodgers and the CS, what's some other NL teams that realistically we think have a chance? Like, do you think your Cubbies would stack up? Say the guys that that come back healthy that you're expecting to that wouldn't be out. Do they stack up in a 7-gamer against them?
I would say, could they? Yes. Will they? Obviously, we don't know. But the Cubs have the hitting ability because they don't just rely on home runs, but they have a lot of guys on that team that can pour out a lot of home runs. But they are a team that can hit for average, can get on base, and take a lot of bags when they are on base. Right now, they're leaving a lot of guys on runners in scoring position, though, so that's obviously something that would have to be cleaned up before then. And then, like I said, that's saying that we're going to get back Matthew Boyd, Justin Steele, a plethora of relief pitchers that are currently out. So, yes, if those guys return the way Chicago has played, could they? Yes, I could see a world in which they could. I hate to say it, but if Jacob Mizorowski continues to pitch the way he is, I could see the Brewers potentially in one of the short series. I don't know if they could get him in a 7. I don't know if they could get him in a 7-gamer, but if you could get them in a 5-gamer against the Dodgers, I think they would have a shot with the way they're playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just be the poo-pooer on it. I mean, I don't like it, but there's not a team in the NL right now that stacks up against the Dodgers. Like, there's just not even the Braves in that sense, because they're unproven. Like, and to me, like, they're hitters. They'll be able to make contact, but if the LA's pitchers pitch the way they are, they're going to neutralize that offense to a degree, and it's just a matter of whether or not the pitching can keep them contained, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's where it comes down to me. And so for the Braves, they're going to have to make some tremendous strides for starting pitching, or these pitchers are going to have to continue to just be elite, which is not out of the realm.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're talking about pitchers like Martin Perez, who, like...
Yeah, I mean, he's not starting a playoff game, a 7-gamer
exactly.
or a 5-gamer.
And so, those are the things that, like, that interest me. And, again, I know I just talked about it, but, like, the only team pitching-wise in the NL right now that I would even give a remote chance, if they're healthy, if they come back to what we have seen of them, is Philly. As crazy as it sounds.
Fair.
That's the only pitching staff that I would want to put up in a 7-game series against the Dodgers and go, I think they can actually outduel the Dodgers, like in that
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, I don't
and
disagree.
then you have veterans on offense. Like, I mean, Schwarber can be Schwarber in that moment because let's be honest, in pitching matchups, it's the clutch hit. It's whoever has the clutchest guy. And I mean, it would be fun to watch Schwarber and Ohtani go at each other to see who could be the clutchest guy in a moment. Like,
yeah, I mean, to be fair, we did last year, and Philly couldn't hit worth a snot.
Right. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, again, everything has to come together for those things. But, like, like when we look at it right now on paper, healthy, everything like that. Now, I would give the Cubs an outside shot because, yes, I think their offense is strong enough. I just don't. And this is me, and maybe this is the hater side because I'm in St. Louis. I just don't trust the pitching.
Yep.
Not in a 7-game series. And so for me, that's where it starts to fade. I mean, you look up and down. Like, I mean, we said it last year. The Mariners pitching is probably the only AL pitching.
Yeah.
That we would say would remotely be in that. The Mariners aren't even a question this year right now. They've got to figure out a lot of other things in order to figure that out. The way it's looking starting pitching-wise, the Yankees might have a legitimate opportunity. At the end of the day, I'm not writing the Rays off. The Rays might just surprise everybody and just shut everybody down. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's unreal what they're
Angels,
doing.
You know?
Yeah, right.
Give them the Angels a 7-gamer against
Manoah gets the start.
In 3 games.
Realistically, though, like, you're not wrong. The only point that I would make is in the last 2 years, yes, the Dodgers have ended up always winning and coming through, but their hitting has gotten worse each year. Yeah. So you assume regression is going to exist again. Now they did spend $60 million on Kyle Tucker, who's not been worth $60 million. But like we said, as long as everybody's healthy at the right moment, that's all that matters. But to counteract signing Tucker, Freddie Freeman's gotten worse, much worse. So I think it's fair to assume like their offensive ability is going to go down again.
But they can. The thing about the Dodgers is they fix that at the trade deadline. Like, they have no care in the world.
No, for sure. But they didn't win the World Series by outslugging people. They won by their pitching. So I still would say, like, the CS last year, they swept the Brewers. Obviously, the Brewers were no match. The Brewers had great pitching that series, but their offense, forgot how to play small ball and forgot how to hit. If someone could pull a Toronto against them in the CS, which the only team I think that can do that would be Atlanta or maybe the Cubs. I feel like that's the only way you're going to beat the Dodgers. Like, you can't out-pitch the Dodgers. You have to out-hit them.
Yeah.
Because Toronto almost did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say. But even for Atlanta, a lot of things still have to go right because on that side of it, I mean, yes, you've got to out-hit them. But, I mean, you look at maybe this weekend's not a great indication because it's the Angels, and we all know what they are. What's fascinating to me is where LA is, and none of their stars are hitting. Like, Shohei's not hitting. Freeman's not hitting. Betts is not hitting. And yet, they're still one of the best teams in baseball.
Oh, yeah. And it goes back to the point.
They're still a juggernaut.
Yeah, it goes back to the point that I made. Like, they did so much better of a job of building around the one through the stars at the top. Muncy is their best offensive player, and he's making like $10 million or $15 million this year. The Phillies have not been able to do that part.
Right.
The Atlanta has been able to do that part. And we'll have to see. I mean, the playoffs in that picture, it really depends on who's healthy.
100%.
If the Dodgers go into October with the same pitching lineup that they have right now and people on the IL that they have, there's no shot that they're going to make it. Like, they are completely dependent upon out-depthing people in pitching. And the same, could be if the Cubs go into a 5 or 7 game with their pitching depth right now, they're not going to make it.
No.
So it kind of all depends on health at that point.
100%. I mean, obviously, and who's playing well. I mean, again, it's a long
for sure.
season. And so who's to say that, for the Cubs, they're not hot, again, going into the playoffs. Pitching's healthy. Yeah, I would put them up against the Dodgers, with the roster that they have. I think they could compete and potentially, anything. And we've seen this throughout baseball. Anything happens in a 7-game series. You just got to be in it. Get to game 7, and then the gloves come off. I mean, that's Toronto, like you said, last year, in all inevitability, should have won the World Series.
Yep.
They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's fascinating because you got to get there. And right now the Dodgers have the blueprint on how to get there.
True.
No one else has quite figured it out.
Very, very true. All right, let's jump over to another of the weekend series. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go to the. Let's go to the New York series. So the Mets and the Yankees played each other. Had a wild ride of a time. I think the first thing we should mention is Anthony Volpe has returned to stardom and has made. I think he's made 3 errors since he came.
3 games.
Yeah.
I don't think that one today he gets
so
an error. I think he gets credited with a tackle.
Hey, the New York Giants are looking at him for linebacker.
So the Mets take the series. I believe they took the series 2-1. I would say something that came out of that for me that was cool to me was the Juan Soto versus Cam Schlittler. AB, I think he struck him out, or he got him out 3 times, and the 4th time around, or is it the 3rd time around, he hit a solo shot off of him. Anything you guys noticed from that series? While I look up if Anthony Volpe has 3 or 4 errors.
I mean, it's just the product of, it's not, to me, it's not a question if the Yankees are going to be in the playoff mix. They are. They have good enough pitching and hitting. But it's so fascinating to watch them revert back to the defensive form that we saw last year after trying so hard to start this season to not get there.
Yeah.
And like a big series like this, I mean, even though the Mets are way down, they're not playing well, it matters in New York. Like, I want to see the headlines tomorrow after losing that series. And just the simple fact that, like, defense really does matter. And the Yankees cannot get themselves out of the way. That lost them the World Series. I mean, let's be honest. It lost them the World Series.
Yeah.
Very true.
I was going to say Aaron Judge finally got payback, and, Binge rewarded him with an error, which from Game 5. But I go back to that call, man, from Joe Davis. It's like, oh, the Mets. They still Mets. Sorry, Michael. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, brother. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that's to the Yankees' credit, they did try to remove Volpe from the situation this year, but unfortunately, the kid who's been kicking butt over there gets hurt, and so they were forced to bring Volpe back up, and I don't know. I mean, it's pretty bad. You do talk about it, shortstops, one of the most important positions on the field, and evidently him being out there just turns everyone else into a super bad fielder, so...
So I just saw he's got 1 error so far in 3 games, on pace for 54. If he plays a whole 162. We were talking about home run pace at 72. That's
who has
pretty
more?
unreal as well. Yeah. Who has more what?
Volpe errors or Schwarber home runs?
At the end, I'm going to say Schwarber probably has more home runs, but I don't think that's because Volpe gets better.
It might be close.
But yeah,
I mean,
who's going to hit more home runs, Judge or Volpe errors?
Yeah, right. And the betting odd might be, can Volpe be within 10 of Schwarber?
Yeah, the over-under line.
Right.
It is interesting. I feel like every year the Yankees do this weird mid-season oh my gosh, this looks like the worst team in baseball consistently. I mean, Max Fried went on the IL. That's a big hit. They got
Yeah.
Carlos Rodon back, who made 2 errors himself in one game, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
I told Brian about that. Did you see that, Michael?
I had, and that's impressive.
That play? So I think his first game back, he threw a wild pitch, so he gets credit with a wild pitch. But on the wild pitch, there was a runner at third, and so he started breaking for home. But that wild pitch hit the back of the, the netting and bounced back towards him. So, with Carlos Rodon's momentum, he starts going towards the ball, and then he tries to throw the ball to the catcher to get the runner out, but he sails the ball over, like way over the catcher. So I think he gets credited with 2 errors in the same play.
That's an impressive.
Well, they
one.
won't credit the wild pitch as an error. It'll just be a wild pitch, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, essentially it is. Yes, you are correct.
A little hyperbole for sure, but
Right.
really funny. But yeah, the Yankees always have this weird slump in the middle of the season, and Yankee fans are like, "Oh my gosh, it's the worst team in baseball," and then they figure it out. The offense is too talented to, I think, overall to do that, but there is continually an underlying lack of fundamental pieces to that team, and there always has been. And it is interesting to watch. But to Michael, to your point, like the Mets being the worst team continually is just wild.
Yeah.
And they're on a 6-4 run right now. They're in 6-4 in their last 10, and that still looks like one of the worst teams.
Yeah.
They can win games and still look like the worst team.
I was going to say, today's game is like a perfect example of that. Like, I mean, they somehow win the game against the Yankees, but if you watch that game, the Mets did everything possible to just give it to the Yankees. I mean, just here, go ahead, take it, have fun. I mean, and then the Yankees in their fashion go, hey, you know what? We're just going to run into each other and let you win the game.
There's a lot of irony when the city that is most known for baseball, the 2 teams in that city are the worst at fundamental baseball in the league. It's really, really funny and really ironic.
I mean, it does feel that way. I have to give them credit. I looked it up. So as of coming into today, the Yankees, yes, are in the top 10. Any guesses where they are in errors in the top 10?
I'm going to say 7.
No, I was going to say 6.
All right, pretty close. They're 8th, believe it or not. So top 10 is Minnesota, Pittsburgh is 9, New York is 8, Detroit is 7, the Angels are 6, Baltimore is 5th, Toronto is 4th. Sensing a theme there of AL East teams. Tampa Bay is 3rd. Miami is 2nd. Any guesses on who the number 1 team is?
I have it pulled up, so I can't guess.
Okay.
That's an absurd difference between number 2 and number 1.
The Nationals.
Correct.
What a guess.
What a guess. I mean, and here's what's so funny about this. The only reason why I bring that up and pinpoint out the Nationals is come trade deadline, when they don't have a healthy shortstop and Volpe is falling apart, I guarantee you New York is going to trade for C.J. Abrams from the Nationals, and it's not going to help them defensively, but it's going to help them offensively.
Man, what would it take to get C.J. Abrams? Because I feel like their asking price would be a lot. But he's a horrible shortstop.
Right. But that's who they will get, and they will put him at shortstop.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at now you got me thinking, who are the best fundamental teams and who are the worst? St. Louis is at 19. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's funny as it sounds. Error-wise, San Diego is the least errored team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to put a whole lot together as far as defensive fundamentals, because errors at this point, it's all based on the score. And so
I mean, every player is going to make an error. I mean, Mason Wynn made 3, which was pretty unprecedented last year.
Right. And I mean, I think some of it you have to look at the types of plays, because some scorers, obviously what they're supposed to mark at, and I think they do a fair job as this, is if it's not if it's a routine play that should be made and not made, that's when it becomes an error. But there's so much leniency because if you're, running to backhand a ball and it goes under your glove, sometimes they give it a hit versus an error. Right. Some of these guys are throwing the ball 16 feet off the bag, but they assume that the runner's going to beat the play anyway, so they give them a hit instead of an error. Yeah. And so it's interesting.
I was looking at fielding percentage, which I think is a general, best fielders, and that's the worst. San Diego's got the best fielding percentage, and then the Athletics are the second best fielding team.
Right.
Which
Dodgers
I did not,
are right there too.
Yeah, I did not peg the Athletics being in that. Yeah, and I think too, like offensive stats and pitching stats, players can bloat those numbers. Kansas City's in the top 5. Bobby Witt is bloating some of that because he's an unreal defender. Same with
100%.
Mikhail Garcia right there too. So I'm sure, if we looked at San Diego and broke that down, there's probably some people inflating that. Like Laureano, Cronenworth, or Merrill are perfect fielders right now, which won't be for the whole season, but so I think that is the error thing is interesting. I thought the Yankees would have been worse, but hey, you never know.
Well, Volpe hasn't been playing a long time. You give it time, they might be up there with the Nationals.
They're just bad, though. And I think, it's the eyes tell you, like you said, you can look at it a little bit more and think they're worse than they should be, which realistically on paper they're probably not that bad. But Game 5 is never going to leave people's minds.
Right.
Volpe being on a team and playing for so long is never going to leave people's minds. And the Yankees have a little bit of I'm tough, I hit baseball, mentality to them. And when you look at them, and they're that also goes with just being bad at fundamental and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's not necessarily true.
But I mean, it's fascinating, right? Because you go if you're a Yankees fan, you go from someone like Derek Jeter, who in my opinion was not an elite defender, but he made the routine plays. And he had brilliance. He did what he was supposed to do, and obviously captain, all of that fun stuff that gets thrown in there. And then you go to a stark difference, which, again, it's hard to live in that shadow if you're in New York.
Yeah, he wasn't set up from the beginning at all.
No, and then you bring in Volpe, who, like you said, Gold Glove, year 1, everybody's like, this is the dude. And then he gets a taste of what it's like to live in New York, and it's no thank you. And to your point, Michael, you've said it all along. Maybe the best thing for him is for them to trade him in some sort of package deal. Send him out to L.A. Let him play for the Angels where there's absolutely put him at second base instead of shortstop. Maybe it changes some things up for the young man.
It'd be the best thing for that kid? Go to Houston. I know they have Pena, but every time Houston plays the Yankees just have no idea how to beat them. And so Volpe's always going to be able to own the Yankees just by existing on that team.
I love it.
All right, what's the storyline one of you guys got from the either from the rivalry series or just from the week?
Yeah, no. So I would go with another rivalry from the weekend, and I'm really starting to believe in Cleveland winning the Central Division there in the AL.
Yeah, did they sweep Cincinnati or did they take 2 of 3?
They took 2 of 3, but their offense is starting to play a little better, and their pitching looks legit. And the 2 dogs that I thought had a chance to run down Cleveland are the 2 teams in last place in the second to last place in that division right now. So Cleveland's kind of picking up some steam, and they're actually a few games over 500 now.
Yeah, the AL as a whole is starting to have more over 500 teams, which is crazy. Yeah, didn't they have... So today, we're recording Sunday, they hit 6 home runs? Is that true?
Yeah.
It's 6 or 7 home runs in one game, in the game today.
Yeah, it was 10-3 final score, so I haven't looked much into it, but It would
Well,
not shock me.
Yeah, it was
And-
6 home. It was 6 home runs, and J Ram hit 2
Yes.
of them himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just looking at it from a Cleveland team that does not have what we would consider an upper echelon offense. I wouldn't even consider them a middle of the row offense. So, yeah, they're starting to get it going, and they always have pitching. I mean, we all know that their defense always plays. So yeah, that was kind of the big thing I took because we're talking. This is a Cincinnati team. Yeah, they've had a rough couple of weeks, but their pitching's still been okay, and they lit them up today. And obviously, J Ram's a big part of that.
So I will say, Cincinnati is starting to show the poser numbers a little bit because they've got the third worst run differential in the National League. Run differential is not a end all be all, but they're sitting at negative 35 after the game today. They're 4-12 against teams over 500. They continue to hit into pretty decent losing streaks. So that team, those things scream to me like a little bit of fake. Especially considering like their offensive numbers are kind of eh. Their pitching is held up. They have one of the best bullpens, and they're still, not winning very many games lately. But to your point, yeah, Cleveland's been on another tear for sure. They're 7-3 in the last 10, 11-10 against over 500 teams.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned like the over 500 because to me, of all the records, and I know it's still because we're still fairly early in the season, that can be kind of, skewed to some point. But you start looking up and down, like you talk about, the Reds, they're 4-12 against teams over 500, which just tells me that they're not real yet. I'm not saying the talent's not there. I mean, I think you see it in flashes with Cincinnati. I just don't think they're fully bought in quite yet. And I think obviously their bullpen has been absolutely horrific for them. And that's probably been the biggest thing for the run differential because no matter how many runs they score, their bullpen gives it up very quickly. But you look and what's fascinating to me, and not to diverge from this, but I think when you look at the rivalry weekend as a whole, I start looking at the NL West and there's not. I mean, there are two teams that have great records. Obviously, the Dodgers and the Padres, right? But when you start looking at when they play above 500 teams, they fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
There is no one in that division that is actually winning against good teams. And again, I think the Dodgers will be fine because they'll get healthy. But it's you start looking at that, and I'm really, wondering, are the best teams, obviously, in the East and in the Central, really the best teams, in my opinion, right now that are playing the best overall are in the Central.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually just doing this real quick. So, I'm determining winning percentages of over 500 teams right now, and I have. So the Atlanta currently has the best winning percentage,
Right.
over 500. So it is. I just erased this, and I just had this 13-5. That's giving them a 17.2. 722 winning percentage of over 500 teams, and St. Louis is second. At they're 12-5, 70%.
They're 15-7 now.
Oh yeah. Brewers are second
Yeah.
at
12-5.
705 winning percentage, and then I believe that then it is St. Louis at 68.1, and then the Cubs are 19-13, which that's 593. I'm trying to think, is there any other team that's got closer? Because everybody else seems pretty close to 500 against.
Yeah, I
that are
don't
in the positives.
see anybody that's that high. Everybody
Yeah,
else
so
is pretty close.
It's those four teams. So Atlanta's leading at 722, and then Milwaukee at 7. St. Louis is 689, and then Chicago at 5-9. in the AL 5-9 or in the NL at 5.93.
Yeah. It's just fascinating to me, and maybe this is just, hopefulness on my part, but to me that screams who really should be your contenders. Like, obviously it's got to stay, right? But the reason why I say it's kind of, you look at the Dodgers, they're only 5-7. Some of that is probably because they're playing the lowly NL West teams that aren't above 500.
Yeah.
They don't have a big showing. But to me, you're playing your best when you're playing the better teams.
Yeah.
And that says something to me. Because, again, the Dodgers came into St. Louis. They lost 2 of 3 against St. Louis. Again, different story when they have full pitching. I'll own that right now. But you can get in the head of certain teams. Like, we know that LA's in the head of San Diego. Every time they try and play them, for whatever reason, San Diego could be the hottest team in the world. They play LA and they fall apart. When you're playing those head-to-head, especially early in a season, that's when you can make your mark and at least put some doubts in the other team. And that's why, like, right now I'm paying attention to that 500 record, above 500 record, because it's going to matter come down to the last month or so of the regular season when you start playing some of the real competition that you have to play against.
I would say that 500 record is significant, especially in the second half when those numbers get stacked up, because early schedule is a little bit of an indicator, because we played Cleveland and beat Cleveland, but at the time they were under 500.
Right.
Now they're over 500, so those games didn't count. We just played the Athletics, and they happened to be right over 500. And because we beat them once, lost once, they stayed over. If we swept them, we wouldn't have got one of those wins with an over 500 teams. I do find it interesting that the Cubs have played the most people over 500 so far this season, and they still have that high of a run differential.
Yeah, well, it goes to Michael's point. They're scoring runs. Like, the offense is there. The problem for them is obviously the injuries to the pitching, probably more so in the bullpen than the starting rotation at this point, although the rotation is starting to feel it.
Yeah.
Something that's a little bit of the Nationals are an interesting team, because they're 15-17 against over 500 teams. That's a lot of games against over 500 teams.
They've been wearing out the NL Central.
Yeah.
They can't beat anybody else, but they can beat the Central.
Yeah, and with the Central being all above 500.
Right.
And, we talked about it last week, the offensive profiles of teams and the Nationals being in the top 5.
Right.
Because of 2 people, but them being that good. Man, what a weird team.
Yeah, I just don't even know what to say.
They're 23-24, and Philly's 24-23. Like, if you think about it, the Nationals are -13 run differential. Phillies are -17. There's nothing technically on paper right now that says the Nationals can't be just as close to the Braves as the Phillies are.
Right. Now we all know the outlier there is when you have Miles Michaelis on your team. But the Nationals, unfortunately, I think they're going to trend down because...
Oh, sure.
Obviously, James Wood is a stud. And, it's going to be sad that he might end up getting stuck in Washington for a long period of his career before he actually escapes. But they have offensive talent. They just, again, it goes back to the fact they don't hold on to their pitching. Like, the oddest thing to me in the world, and I know it's because they didn't want to pay him, but is you have a guy in Mackenzie Gore who's striking out the world, and you trade him.
Yep.
They don't have enough money. They're paying Steven Strasburg.
Still, at some point, again, you've got to figure out these things because...
No, 100%. I was being facetious a little bit.
They're just like, it fascinates me because you have, like you said, one of the best offenses in the game. Just go find some adequate pitching at this point. It doesn't even have to be great. Just adequate, and you might find yourself in the midst of a playoff run.
It's interesting to think about in hindsight. If they were able to extend Juan Soto, this team would be even worse right now because they wouldn't have
Yeah.
James Wood. They wouldn't have all of those guys that they got for getting rid of Juan Soto.
Right.
So the team would be even worse.
Right. And my fear is, maybe not a fear for James Wood, but is they start to recognize that he's going to be able to get the same type of haul that Soto gets. And they end up trying to move on from him. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing if they can get more legit pitching than they can positional players out of it. But, I mean, whoever buys into James Wood, I mean, that's going to be absolutely insane. Dear God, please let it not be LA, but
yeah. That's an interesting thing to think about. Instead of spending $60 million on Tucker, they trade some of their depth and they would have got James Wood.
Yeah.
That's gross to think about. It makes me sad to even think about it.
Yeah. And
they can still do it, to be honest with you.
Honestly.
That's the crazy thing. And maybe this will segue in, but for me, like, probably the biggest thing from Rivalry Weekend is Murakami. Like, this is a kid that's supposed to be no good at baseball. Everybody gave up on him. He signed with the White Sox because they were really the only team willing to take a shot on him. And he's sitting behind Kyle Schwarber with 17 home runs. And, I mean, it seems like all the kid does is figure out how to hit home runs. And so, you know, Michael, you can jump into that because obviously I don't want to rob you of the series because that was the Chicago series there, North Side and South Side. So why don't you take it away and kick off that?
Yeah, that kid ruined my weekend. Yeah, he
doesn't look like a kid though.
Honestly, yeah, he's a stud. They've got, and that, you know, we've kind of seen it to start out this year, but they have a lot of guys that have some power on that team. They definitely are going to have to get some more depth in the pitching, obviously. But this has been kind of a few years building for the White Sox. Obviously, they've been really bad for a few years, but Montgomery and a couple of these other young guys are really starting to come into their own now. And unfortunately, it showed up this weekend in that series. It's also a little concerning for me because one of the guys that we really need to be able to rely on in Jameson Taillon is getting absolutely lit up right now by everybody, including the White Sox. I think they scored 8 runs on Taillon in his start on Saturday. So, you know, it's pretty brutal. And that's not his first start like that this year, unfortunately. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. We saw it again today. The Cubs get themselves in some holes because they're not pushing guys across early in the games, but they figure out a way to push guys across when it matters late in the game. But I would much prefer they push a guy across in the 5th inning and we don't have to go into extra innings because when you go into extras, things like what happened today, and we end up losing in extra innings because of not being able to be the last team up to bat or whatever. But, you know, the series was interesting. We started out with Ben Brown. You know, we've all talked about it the last few weeks. Ben Brown had moved in as a reliever, and with Matthew Boyd going down, they moved him into a starting role his last couple weeks, but he's been kind of an opener, and he's been sensational. So maybe a little bit of time, getting a little bit of... I think I lost you. I think I lost you, boys.
Oh, no, wait, we still got you
good.
if you can hear us.
You're good. You're good.
I got you. Yep. So, yeah, with the way that the Cubs played early in the year where he was able to get a lot of you know, really great pitching underneath him, I think that's given him that confidence to kind of come back into it and really come into his own as a starting pitcher, which is ultimately what they wanted from him from the jump. That's why they've tried to throw him out there the last couple of years. Unfortunately, his first couple years, Craig kind of put him in some bad situations whenever he'd go out there, be pitching really well. His second time through, he's doing okay. And then he'd get to that third time through, and Craig would leave him in, you know, a guy or two too many, and then all of a sudden he's tagged for 3 or 4 runs real quickly. And they're playing it cautious right now with him. He went 4 innings, 6 or 8 strikeouts in 4 innings. Like great outing. Kid's pitching really well. But I think it's smart to kind of pitch him in that aspect that way, because especially like I said, with the way that Tyone's pitching right now, we're probably going to need another guy that we can throw in there as a starter. That's assuming that Matt Boyd and Justin Steele are able to come back and kind of find their form. Like I said, the series as a whole, unfortunately, we end up losing in extra innings today, so we dropped it 1-2 in the series versus the Bad Boys down south side of town. But overall, my big thing is, like, even today, we've got to figure out a way to push runs across with runners in scoring position, because we know that our pitching is really beat up, and we're hitting the ball. But I saw today we left 13 runners on the bags. Like, you just can't win ball games by doing that. And they're doing it at a relatively consistent rate. Now, obviously, they find the White Sox. The White Sox are playing good ball right now. Unfortunately, the Cubs got beat up by Atlanta early in the week, so they're still kind of licking their wounds going into the weekend series, and the White Sox benefit from that. So kudos to them in that aspect. But we'll see them again up at Wrigley in the summer with the ivy out there, and we'll see how they do. But like I said, take the good with the bad. Ben Brown was, like I said, sensational this weekend. A lot of guys, came through some clutch hits. Michael Conforto, once again, is showing why the Cubs took a flyer on him early in the year, and it's paying off big time. But we'll see kind of how the next few weeks play out, and next month and a half, 2 months. The Cubs are going to have some interesting decisions that they're going to have to make at the deadline as far as pitching goes, and young guys that they want to keep around or not keep around. So, but it was an interesting series that definitely kind of opened my eyes. Like, I can handle losing to Atlanta. We can't lose two of 3 to the White Sox. That's a series you got to have. So, yeah.
That gives me 2025 Cardinals vibes, where they would win against above 500 teams but lose to below 500 teams for no reason. Like, losing a series to the Nationals, to the White Sox, and it's like, what? You got to beat the bad team. Couple questions for you. First of all, sorry about the random laugh. I just saw on Twitter as I was trying to find an injury report, Miles Michaelis is the first person to use the bullpen cart this season so far. So he's the first one to go out there on the bullpen caddy to take him out. And I was just,
it's only Miles, man. It's only Miles.
It made me just like lose it. Like, of course. We've mentioned in our text thread a little bit, Michael. Do you guys foresee the Cubs using talent to go get starting depth for you that would probably cost you a little bit? Do you think you see the office doing that for this year, or do you think you see him holding a little bit, like, to not get rid of your minor league depth?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. It's kind of the question spinning on all the major Cubs pages and stuff right now too. They made a decision this offseason with bringing Bregman in, and really blocked Shaw's ability to come out there and play on a daily basis. But also to the point of, they're running into a lot of issues right now. Michael Conforto's playing really good ball, so they're having to find spots for him to play. Mo Baller started the year out really great, and so they really had to find a spot for him on top of Shaw also needing to get AB. So they've really put themselves in kind of a precarious situation as far as some of this young talent goes, because in my opinion, I still am higher on Shaw than any of the other talent that we have sitting there. I think that kid's got all the tools. There's a reason they stuck with him last year over Cam Smith. Though I think Cam Smith is going to be a great ball player, Shaw had shown them enough through the minors already that he is a very good ball player. Great defender. It's just going to be finding his spot. And so, with the decisions they're going to have to make for Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki at the end of the year coming into it, I would say it's really going to depend on what these next 2 months look like for the Cubs. I think whether they push all the chips in or not. If they're playing well enough to kind of stick around, maybe they hold on to those guys. But if they look like a legitimate contender, the pitching staff, gets its legs underneath it, but you can tell you need one more dog for the fight, then, yeah, I definitely could see a world in which they move either Mo Baller or Shaw or even potentially Kevin Alcantara. He's our top prospect down there in the minor leagues to bring in a legitimate starting pitcher. Now, obviously, you're going to have some high-end starter to get those guys because the Cubs are very high on all three of them. There's a reason why Owen Casey got sent to Miami and not one of those three. And they chose Matt Shaw over Cam Smith and Owen Casey both a couple times the last couple years. So it would be a strange world to see them move on from him now. But the fit's tough with him and Ballesteros both right now because Ballesteros is not a legitimate major league catcher. But he's a great hitter when he's hitting the zone. Obviously, he's been on a bit of a cold one recently. Yeah, right. And so they're gonna have to decide what they're gonna do because he's obviously locking up the DH, and you're totally cool with him locking up the DH with the way he was striking the ball early in the year. Line drives all over the place. He was finding balls out in the bleachers. But like I said, he's been a little cold recently. But I think Shaw as an overall player is more valuable just because he is a great defender on top of being a very good hitter. And he's been really, considering he's been a every 3 to 4 game guy, a pretty solid hitter all year. He's batting, last I looked, he was around 270, which is pretty good for a guy who's not getting consistent at-bats, who's just in his second year in the league. So I don't foresee it happening, but let's say there's a world in which Detroit's dangling Skubal out there. That would be the
my next question.
That would be the guy or somebody like that type of level player for them to give up on Shaw. Now, given that's a huge risk because Skubal's gonna walk regardless because the Cubs aren't gonna pay him $800 million at the end of the year to sign back. So, but if the team's clicking on all cylinders, they think that there's a good chance they're bringing Happ back next year. Then I think, there's a world in which I could see Shaw get moved there. But if you're talking one of the more like mid-level, high-end starters or something, Sandy or somebody like that, I'd say you're talking more of somebody that's a 5 or 6 best prospect rather than your top prospect, and you're not going to get a lot for it. I find it hard to believe that the Cubs are going to give up on Shaw. With, like I said, they've consistently said, we like this kid, we want to have him around. And like I said, they've got some really tough decisions with Suzuki and Ian Happ. You could very easily slot him into an everyday position next year, potentially, if you lose both of those guys. So, it'd be hard to believe, but like I said, you see the Cubs go on a huge stretch like Atlanta's been on here, the heater that they've been on, and their pitching starts to look legitimate. But you can tell, like, maybe Tyone or somebody, one of these guys just isn't really holding their own right now. And you're like, that's going to be the gap. Yeah, I could see the Cubs pushing in their chips. They've done it before. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But, we saw it with Tucker last year. It worked out for half the season. And, that's why I also think they'll be a little more cautious with Shaw because I know there's a lot of folks up in Chicagoland that would really like to have Cam Smith sitting there right now. So, yeah.
So that was the other thing I was going to mention is Joe Kelly's off the market for sure because he's getting having surgery. So what other non-rental is available? Maybe Sandy Alcantara, but you mentioned the other team. What's to stop Atlanta from doing the same thing? You know, because they're in the position of like, hey, we are the best team that has a shot to beat Atlanta. Who can we get to pair with Chris Sale? And Skubal with Chris Sale is nasty.
Absolutely.
Freddie Peralta with Chris Sale, that's I don't see that happening just because it's in division. But I mean, at the same time, the Mets don't really have a choice because they're not doing anything for sure.
Yeah.
So the competition for those guys is going to be kind of hot because there would be a couple of, Atlanta needs starting depth, and the Dodgers, their guys are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
They're picking guys off waivers because they don't have enough starting depth right now.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern for Chicago in the sense is I don't think they want to necessarily move Shaw, but I think they're going to be forced to.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be the problem because that's going to be the asking price to beat out some of these other teams.
Yeah, some of the others.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because I agree with you, Michael. I think Shaw probably has maybe the biggest overall upside out of all of them. But I think just because of some of the contract situation that they've already done, like with Bregman, he kind of becomes the odd man out, unfortunately, and is the one that's going to be most desired by other teams in that regard. And honestly, for me, this series, as much as it, it is a big deal for those of you who, are in the north side of Chicago there. I know you hate losing that one, but to me, this series was more about the White Sox than it was the Cubs. I think the White Sox winning this series made a statement that they could actually compete for the AL Central. I'm not saying they're going to be deep in the playoffs by any stretch, but I think they can actually compete with the Guardians and potentially win the Central and find themselves in the playoffs.
Yeah, the White Sox are above 500 right now, and the last time that happened was probably 1903 or something.
Hey, the Pope's working for them.
Yeah, right.
Putting in some calls.
Yeah, that's to the one above. I do agree with you, Brian. In the grand scheme of things, this isn't a big deal for the Cubs. Although losing 2 series in a row is the thing that sucks.
Yeah.
If you didn't lose against Atlanta, this probably wouldn't mean as much at all.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Cubs and the White Sox hate each other so much. You know, it's kind of different. Like, the Cardinals and the Royals have no feelings whatsoever with each other.
Right.
Aside from 85, they literally mean nothing to each other. But the White Sox and the Cubs, they hate each other with a passion. For sure.
And I get that, again, the feels there, it sucks. I think the bigger series for you guys is this one coming up with Pittsburgh. This is one you guys have to win this series, in my opinion, or it starts to get a little bit concerning, maybe, of, some things falling apart.
The one predicament I want to bring up to you, Michael, is the thing about trading Shaw or using him, because I do think he's your biggest trade piece. The one thing about it, though, is Bregman is an injury-prone player, especially at the age and as the progression that he is. I think he's a good add for your team. He's not performing like you would want or like, he did for the Sox last year, but he's still an injury-prone player. I mean, he spent almost a month on the IL for Boston. So with the inevitable idea that he's probably going to spend time on the IL, who's going to replace him for those stints if Shaw's gone?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. That's where you're probably going to have to see some random former big leaguer or something that's been spending time down in AAA or something, because I don't think the Cubs really have another young prospect that they currently are wanting to bring up to go play an infield position. Maybe I'd have to do some looking. Maybe they got some kid that they could slot over at second base and move Horner over to third base for a short time if you had to. Horner's played a little bit of third base, but that's not an ideal situation either because Nico Horner's the best second baseman in baseball. So you don't really want to move him around in order to, kind of
you don't want to
fill
do
that gap. But I've seen the Cubs do it before, so I could see them do it again. But no, I agree. Like Shaw, he was a Gold Glove finalist last year, and I think if he gets legitimate time in the outfield, he's going to be a legitimate outfielder. I mean, Ian Happ didn't start his career in the outfield either. He was an infielder as well. Didn't have room for him in the infield, found a spot in the outfield, and he's a 3 or 4 time Gold Glover now. So, I'd hate to lose Shaw. I really would. And like you said, there's a lot of reasons why I would like to keep him around. Bregman being inconsistent. I mean, he's getting up there in age. I mean, what's to say he doesn't do what Trey Turner and Freddie Freeman are doing right now, where it's like the life of this guy's contract is toast these next few years or something, and it's like you're basically going to be paying for this guy to sit on your bench a couple years. I could definitely see a world in which that happens. So would hate to lose a guy like Shaw from that value aspect as well.
Agreed. I don't see Shaw going. I think Hoyer would start to pick at your AAA depth and your 1 through 5 list before, because Detroit's going to demand a lot. Even if Skubel's been on the injury list and has had surgery, we know Scott Boras is going to push him to recover quickly.
Yep.
He wants to get that bag, and we know Detroit knows that that's the best starting pitcher in baseball, and it's going to cost. And I don't think the Cubs would use. I don't think Shaw would be the one that Detroit would want. I would think they would want depth to extend their run longer than if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, take us through. I guess let's talk about the Royals and the Cardinals series.
I mean,
you got to go to Game 1, so
yeah. I mean, a fun series. I mean, again, it's unfortunate. I think that Kansas City's in the situation that they're in, as far as just not playing well, because they're a fun team. I mean, obviously, you talk about Bobby Witt and who he is. I mean, he's America's shortstop, so I mean, there's that, and he's really showing out. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't. Friday night's game, I thought, honestly, was probably set up to be the best because you had Michael Wacha coming back into town. He's been pitching really well for them, and it was a really good game overall. And so the series was fun. I think the biggest thing, and we touched on it at the beginning, was just the belief in this team now. Like, the city is behind this team, and I think it's the tide starting to turn in from just them being a good team to actually potentially being a competitive team. Like, they really do believe that now. Does that mean that they're World Series contenders? Not by any stretch. Like, I'm not trying to go into that realm with this team yet. There's still a lot of gaps, especially when it comes to pitching, that has to be filled. With Bloom, I think, too, obviously they're going to stick to the program more than they're going to care about, like, deep playoff run this year. I mean, if it happens, great. And we've seen Cardinals teams of the past do this very thing, right?
Right.
And so I hope that that's the case as a fan. But honestly, I'm still just, kind of waiting on some things to fully unveil. I mean, Jordan Walker seems to be comeback player of the year, right? I mean, that almost to me is a no-brainer at this point. On that side, but we still got a lot of season left. I mean, he could totally fall apart here, and we're back in the same boat. What's going to be fascinating to me is kind of in the same boat. The Cardinals have a lot of decisions coming up, right? I mean, you're talking about Nootbaar, who's already doing rehab assignments in the minors. He's going to come back to play left field. What does that mean for some of these other guys? Pozo has earned a spot on the team. As much as I was ready a few weeks back to say, hey, cut him loose, let's go. I mean, the dude is finding those clutch hits when needed. They're not necessarily like these grandiose long home runs, but I mean, he's finding the gaps, winning games. I think the biggest, like, over the weekend the biggest thing that kind of caught my eye was maybe Victor Scott isn't as far off from Church as we thought. Church is a really good player, and there was a lot of conversation coming into the series that Church was going to potentially steal center field. Scott needed to go down. But I think Victor showed something in this series with his bat. Not only we know he can play defense, but the fact that, maybe there's some hope that he's not gone, and it's just Church, him, Walker, and Nootbaar as your outfield, right? Because, again, Nootbaar's not going to be able to come back at full force. He's going to be like a 3-game, and then he's going to have to sit a game type of guy, at least for a little bit. So you don't want to just, completely deplete your outfield on that. The guy that's unfortunate right now that I think is just running into hard times is Fermin again. Not that he's a bad player, but I just don't know what the team's going to do with him overall. Again, it's him or Sagasi that's going to have to be taken off the 40-man or off the roster to make room for Nootbaar. It's just one of those two guys, and it's who do they really feel more comfortable with. I mean, Prieto's still up. I guess he could go down if you really wanted to, but he's your only other infielder that's kind of moving around. Outside of that, you've basically made Sagasi and Fermin really more so outfielders. I mean, Fermin's played first base for the first time, all of that. So it's just kind of a weird dynamic for me. But the game itself, there's not much to say. I mean, it's just fun to watch good baseball, and the Cardinals are finding ways to play good baseball. It's not, always power. They show they have the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark when needed. Maybe the biggest surprise is honestly some of the pitching. The starters are actually keeping them in games right now. I didn't have a lot of hope for that. But they're doing their job, whether it's Libator, McGreevy. I mean, even Palante today, essentially just gave up 2 runs. We just didn't have offense today. And so, there's not really this glaring hole for the Cardinals right now. I mean, are there things they need to improve? Absolutely. But they're a legitimate team that I think can be competitive in the Central, not just for a wild card anymore, but very potentially could steal the Central if some teams start to fall asleep.
Yeah, they're just fun. I mean, it's fun to watch. They're just really, really fun to watch. Something that sticks out to me, I just looked this up to confirm this. The Cardinals have not lost a series in 3 weeks. They've either split or won a series for the last 3 weeks. The last time they lost a series was their sweep against Seattle. They lost the series against Miami, got swept versus Seattle, and they've won every series since. Which is this stretch that they've had in the end of April to the beginning of May has been a pretty tough stretch. It's mostly 500 teams minus the Royals. The Royals is the first team not over 500 that they've faced. And then they're getting ready to start a stretch against every NL Central team.
Right.
They play the Pirates, then the Reds, the Brewers, and then Chicago is going to come into town. So it's another really tough stretch. And it's not always sexy, but it's always fun, and it's always cardiac inducing. But why would you want to have blowouts every game? That's
right.
Not fun to watch.
No.
It's fun for a little bit, blowing out teams constantly, but then, it's going to get boring because it's not competitive again. And even the Seattle series is the last one we watched. That was still really competitive, and we were close to winning all 3 of those in some sort of way, but just, Stanek just was being Stanek the whole time. They're just fun to watch. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's worth investing time, money, energy, and whatever resource that somebody has to do it. It's just entertaining. And we talked about this kind of before you came on, Michael. The expectation is kind of what has set the bar for it to be entertaining. There's no expectation of this team winning the World Series, which gives you the ability to just relax and enjoy whatever ride you have with it. Whereas, you guys losing a series to the White Sox, it feels very heavy because your expectations are this team needs to be in the World Series this year. Like, that's what we want. You've spent the money for it. So I will be interested to see when the expectations of this team changes, whether we're in September.
Right.
And, there's 7 or 8 games above, like, hey, we have a shot. What happens when that expectation changes, or, in a couple years when these players start to feel the pressure of the expectation. But for now, it's like you just get to watch and have fun, and they get to be successful just having fun. And that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, just ride the wave till the trade deadline. And then after that, we'll see what the front office really kind of feels and senses about this team. Because again, you're talking about one of the best closers in baseball. He's going to be a hot commodity at the trade deadline. And O'Brien, if Dustin May continues kind of on this trend that he's on, at least pitching well, there's going to be teams calling about him. Things like that. So it'll be interesting to watch that. And I think, like I was saying earlier, and I think I missed the teams, but like this next week in the Central is going to be fun to watch, with Chicago playing Milwaukee and us playing Pittsburgh, because those are the top 4 teams. And so how those series goes, once again, could shift up placement within this
very much so
crazy division that's been the best in baseball so far, at least the most fun to watch. And so it'll really be fascinating to kind of see, especially over the next month, if by the end of June we are talking about the Cardinals in the same capacity. Because if pitching holds up, what do they really do? Like, I know they say, hey, we're going to stick to the plan. But when you're sitting a game and a half out of first place in the Central, which means you're one of the top 3 to 5 best teams in the National League, it's going to be hard to start.
You still trade your players away, no matter what.
I agree,
Send
but
them to the Cubs. I don't care. give me good talent.
I agree.
In Double A.
I agree, but it's going to be a harder pill for the fans to swallow.
Sure, I'm going to be honest though. I would rather have pitching talent getting boosted and prepped, and this team win with even more of an underdog mentality than like giving them more stuff and then feeling more pressure to perform. Because again, expectations and pressure is setting the precedent of what we think. And if you keep the pressure and expectation off and you just let them go have fun, they're going to win more that way anyways. And
for a short period, though.
Sure,
at some point, you got to rip the Band-Aid off, right? Like, you're going to have to feel pressure regardless. Again, you look at, like, the 2011 teams, the 2006, all of that. Like, they weren't on paper. They weren't supposed to be the teams that they were going to be.
Oh, dude, that 2011 team's offense was ridiculous. It's just they played piss poor for a month.
Right, but nobody anticipated that.
Right, yeah, that's true.
And so, like, there was no pressure until there was pressure. Like, that's just, that's the thing, even with this team. Like, that's why I say, if a month from now they're still in the game and a half behind whomever is leading the NL Central, or they're leading the Central, you're going to feel the pressure regardless of what the moves are.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
And it'll be interesting to watch, because then you get into July. That's when the moves start to happen, those type of things, and we'll really be able to see what Bloom has in store for the Cardinals. I'm with you. Accumulate the talent. Like, I'm not saying go out here and if Skubal becomes available, let's trade the talent we have to get Skubal. I'm not in that camp just to try and make it happen this year. But I don't think you have to rip it down to the studs either. I think there's a world in which
I'm not saying that.
You can keep some of these players that are playing well and still build with them.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the assets that we would probably trade normally, they need to go anyway, because our good contending pitching talent is still a year or two out, and on paper we're not contending until that's ready. We can't just do the continual rental type mentality. But here's the thing: if you're still going to trade assets, like last year, we got rid of Phil Maton, We got rid of Ryan Helsley, and who is the other guy we got rid of? We got rid of three arms. I forgot who the third guy was. Whoever it was. Our bullpen got better because pitching depth stopped. Our starting rotation still garbage, but our bullpen got better. So like, I don't doubt the team to be able to continue to do that part. But if Palante and Kyle Leahy are in your rotation going to the playoffs, you still don't have a chance to contend. But that doesn't mean like expectations are really low and they can't outperform them.
Sure.
So you let that happen this year.
Yeah, and some of it like the Dustin May piece to me, right? Like yes, I'm in the camp of if he's pitching well and is drawing a return, you trade him.
Yeah.
Barring you have somebody that you can kind of bring up. Now, if none of these guys in the minors are ready, that's going to be a problem because you're going to have a big gap to fill that's going to be detrimental to this team overall.
Sure.
But,
For sure.
I mean, yes, you still trade him. Like, I think Nootbaar, I think O'Brien. I'm in the camp of if JoJo can figure it out a little bit. JoJo Romero, some of those guys need to be moved. Not because they're bad players, not because I think that, we would be necessarily better or quote unquote better without them. I just think the value for them is too high.
Yeah.
For this year, and you need to get some assets in return for that. And with some of these other teams like Atlanta, like I could see Atlanta calling us and going, what's it going to take to get Dustin May? Like, I really could see that if Dustin May is pitching well.
Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, right. I don't see that happening, but, I mean, hey, it's worth the ask. I don't know if we want that injury either, so. Right. But,
Ronald Acuna Jr. and.
Yes, and Drake Baldwin. That's all I'm saying, right?
We'll give you Pedro Pajes as a throw-in.
Exactly. Just for free. That's an easy one.
Yeah, no. I think back to the original point. Just have fun. The team is overperforming, and it's not like they're overperforming to an insane level. They're just playing really good baseball. They're doing. Right. This is gonna sound so homerish, but they're playing like the Cardinals should be playing. They're playing really good defense. They're running really hard. They're playing really hard. They're exhausting teams. And that's just all you want. They're doing those things, and they're happening to win a lot of games. And I would say it's really good for baseball that this team is doing something to be talked about, even if, and part of it is the fact that they're not supposed to be good.
Right.
Like, it's a rebuilding year, and we're a game and a half out of the best division in baseball. Like, that is pretty unprecedented, and it's fun to see it talked about. It's catching everybody's attention. I turn on MLB Network every other day, and they're talking about this team for whatever reason, and that feels really good. So just have fun and enjoy it. It most likely won't last the entire year. In fact, it's probably not supposed to last.
Yeah, they're gonna hit their down.
Yeah, but just have fun. It's just part of it. That's the fun of all of it. And they're just fun to watch.
Yeah. And last thing I'll say, and then we can end it, is I just want to give Ollie credit. Like, a lot of people were down on him, but you see, I think what a true, and I think he's always been a good coach, but I think you're seeing it this year and the way he's able to help these young guys relax and just go out there and play. And to your point, have fun. And again, go back to the very beginning of the podcast and listen to the fact of what he did with this fan base, of bringing them into the clubhouse for the tarps off guys and things like that, to just really kind of embrace the fans and the youngness and the youth of this team. I think he's doing it right. And for all the hate he's gotten up to this point, maybe not all on him, some of it, sure, but not all of it, man's a really good coach. And hopefully it stems the tide a little bit from the Yachty talk, even though I would still love Yachty in that clubhouse every day. Ollie deserves credit. And so maybe that's all I'm trying to say.
Side note, I opened Cardinals.com. I think it was late last night or early this morning, and there was a picture of all those guys, the shirts off guys coming into the clubhouse, and there and behold, front page of Cardinals.com is Ivan Herrera in his underpants.
Yes,
Just
yeah, right
mostly
there.
naked on the front page of Cardinals.com. So it's like, oh yeah, the vibes are high for sure. They're going. All right, before we end it, I wanted to hit you guys with a couple quick hitters. Main question, I just wanted to give an injury report. So my question for you guys is, so Trevor Story just got sent to the IL, had a groin issue. Brendan Donovan just got put on the IL again after one IL stint. He has a left groin muscle strain. Blake Snell got put on the IL again after one start from coming back from the surgery with loose elbow bodies. So out of those three, which one is the biggest hit to the team that they're on?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one. I mean, one, I'd never say the Dodgers have a hit at all because they're going to figure it out. To me, honestly, as funny as it sounds, I would say it's Brendan Donovan. I mean, because of, what he was supposed to be for that team. And early on in the season, I mean, you saw what he could be. And, I mean, now they're already talking, and they just brought up their prospect to put him at third. And so then it's like, when Donovan is back, what does that mean? Because you don't want to up and down this young kid. We've seen the effects that can have in St. Louis on a young kid. But, with all of that, to me, that's the biggest thing because, again, it goes back to your point, Tim. The highest expectations were set on Seattle.
Yeah.
And right now they're in a free fall. And their pitching hasn't been horrific, but it's not where it was last year. And that offense just hasn't seemed to find its stride. Raleigh's on the IL as well, and so there's a lot of problems in Seattle right now. That's just my thoughts. Michael?
No, I would actually 100% went with Donovan as well. Partly because guys like Cal Raleigh are struggling this year. You need somebody besides J-Rod to get going, because ironically, for the first time in years, that kid's actually come out of the gate really hot. And so, in my opinion, you really need to get some other dogs in those fights because, like you said, Brian, the pitching's there, and it will always play regardless. I mean, that pitching staff, in my opinion, is the best. If you look as a whole, that's the best pitching staff in baseball. When they're performing, there's no one better. So if you could just get somebody to be hitting the ball along with J-Rod and a couple other guys, and like you said, I think they were holding out on bringing that kid up because they didn't want to do the up and down thing with him. But now that he is up, barring him come up and do the whole Jackson Holiday thing where he just straight up was not hitting the baseball, then I would definitely make sure that now that you've brought him up, that he stays up, at least for a good stretch, barring an injury or anything like that. Hopefully, nothing like that. But I think Donovan's definitely the most important piece there, partially because I think Boston's toast for the year. I just think Boston's done. When Story's healthy, he can definitely be a nice factor to have hitting-wise whenever he's hitting the ball, but he's kind of out of his prime at this point. And then Blake Snell, they'll bring him back in September, and he'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, the dude's just throwing one-hitters or something in the 8th inning of a playoff game or something ridiculous. And they're somehow getting like Roki Sasaki or whatever that kid's name is. Like that kid couldn't even pitch, and somehow he goes out today and throws 7 innings of 4-hit ball or something, didn't give up a run. I don't know what it is about the Dodgers. They got something going on over there, but I think Donnie's definitely the most valuable of those assets that has hit the IL, and him having 2 IL stints, I think, is part of the reason why Seattle's struggling, because when they made that move this offseason, they went And I think they ultimately knew they wanted to get Donovan from the jump because they let Polanco walk out the door.
Mhm.
They could have paid him the same contract that the Mets gave him if they wanted to. They purposely wanted to get Donovan in-house because I think he's a more valuable asset than Polanco at this stage in his career. And so they were really looking forward to having one. He's a very good defender, and he's an on-base machine. So Cal Raleigh's gonna find his stroke again. He even kind of found it there for a short stretch. I think he was playing through something, and they finally were just like, "It's affecting you bad enough. We need to let you sit for a bit." But I think Donnie's definitely a major valuable piece, especially in a division that nobody wants to win. If they could get him back, I think they definitely could kind of run away with that division. Because at the end of the day, I really like the Athletics. They're just not there yet. You saw it in that series against the Cardinals this weekend. Like, the pitching's going to be a problem. And I honestly would hate to watch a team like that get to the playoffs because they're just going to get destroyed by somebody in a series where you got to win more than one game. So I think Seattle, it's their division to win or lose. And if you get Donovan, I could see them somehow ending up with a double digits lead in that division by, September or something.
For a long time, Brendan Donovan was the best hitter on Seattle, even when he's been on the IL with an unqualified amount of plate appearances. So yeah, Brendan Donovan is a big deal. Being out is a really big deal to this team. They're making it work. You could say they're not surviving because they're below 500, but because that division is atrocious, they are surviving.
Right.
And we've seen Philly go on enough of a run that it's put them in a picture, and they're above 500 now for the first time in like 2 months or whatever. So, yeah, and at the same time, you need to make sure Donovan is healthy, because if there's one thing about him, if he's hurt, he's such a dog. He's willing to play through anything, and it's to his detriment because he can't hit very well when he is injured. So fix it, let him sit for however long, and as long as he's healthy, he will be such an asset. He still has the lowest K percentage on that team, 14.9 K percentage, with J.P. Crawford being right above him.
Yeah, don't rush it as long as you can stay close in the division, because you're going to be able to win that division right around 500. At least that's the way it looks right now.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't say no to the Athletics in the playoffs. I'd put them in a 5-gamer with the Yankees. I think they could I think they could beat the Yankees in a 5-gamer.
I don't know that they can handle
Yankees
that pitching.
pitching's kind of like mid.
You got
I don't know, man.
Schlittler. You got Schlittler for 2 in that series.
If you put Max Fried, that would be that would be the only starter I would say no. You put Max Fried on the mound in the playoffs, he turns into a
Garrett
7
Cole
ERA
will be
kinda
back
guy.
by that point, though.
Do you remember Garrett Cole in 2024?
Yeah, but again, you put him up against who's starting for the Athletics?
I'm not saying their pitching's good. I'm just saying you put the two offenses against each other. I think I'm probably taking the Athletics offense.
The offense, it'd be a fun show. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. Like, it'd be a fun series to watch.
Yep.
Nick Kurtz versus Aaron Judge. Come on now. All right. Well, thank you guys if you've made it this far. We didn't really have much content, and here we are, an hour and a half in, talking about baseball. It always happens, but appreciate you guys listening. Give us a like, subscribe, comment below. Anything from the rivalry weekend, anything that you've noticed, any stories with the week, let us know. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you in the next episode.